I didn't necessarily study film I didn't do like a film FAV program in high school or anything, but so I was very interested in storytelling. And for me, my films are very oriented around the camera. So when I'm telling stories, I feel so intimately able to make a story with film, with the act of filmmaking, versus writing a book or writing a short story. So it was this immediate reward of discovering and telling stories that wasn't as isolating. It's a social kind of endeavor and a really great collaborative process. So it was like making stories, but not in a vacuum.
Was it always film, or did you start out with regular still photography?
I did, I took, at RISD actually, in high school, I did like the certificate kind of like fun night program,
right.
Studying photo, studying like Adobe Illustrator, actually animation. I was really convinced I wanted to be an animator.
Yeah.
So like that was the big thing, not so much photography, but then I got more and more into it as I went to college.
And what kind of influences do you have? Like who's influenced you or inspired you? Whose work do you love?
There's so many, every film is, films in so many ways are at the forefront of technology. So like, films help innovation. So, but as far as like actual story influences versus innovative cameras or innovative storytelling, I really have always been so drawn to, Stanley Kubrick as far as using genre as a paintbrush, Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
I would be remiss not to bring up Coppola. Apocalypse Now is one of my favorite films of all time.
Great.
I just had the chance to see the director's cut. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know that's coming out soon. And then, Andrea Arnold has been an amazing female role model, and as is Jane Campion, Top of the Lake's one of my favorite.
So you really
TV
like,
shows.
it sounds to me like you like innovators, rule breakers, ground, and these are all artists. We had the pleasure of having Doug Trumbull here who did 2001, the special effects, and then he did Blade Runner.
And Tree of Life, right?
I don't know if he did, but he did the special effects for 2001, Close Encounters,
cool.
Innovator, and he talked about how Stanley Kubrick was a mentor, but also a rule breaker. And authenticity was very important. And then you look at somebody like Francis Coppola, who, you're talking about great storyteller, great writer, wrote Patton, but he also is an artist, and so you like artists, and Jane Campion is a great filmmaker as well.
Yeah.
She's from Australia, I think. And you like strong female characters.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
When I was young, actually, like a film that was super influential to me was Whale Rider, and that's
love Whale Rider.
I know she's doing the new Milan. I'm so excited.
I gave that gift. It was a Christmas gift to a lot of young girls.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
It was an amazing film. You don't really realize that you're searching for yourself in images always. Like I didn't know what I was missing until I saw a girl my age on screen. And I was like, this was such a compelling story for me to experience and be with her and what she's going through and her identity and like how she relates to boys and how she relates to her grandpa and how she wants to be treated the same. It was amazing.
And how she became the leader.
Yeah.
I love them.
Exactly.
Right. So that's a big influence for you.
Huge influence in so many ways, because not just like story-wise, but also, and not to mention the amazing like nonlinear cutaways and like the animation scenes, which like you see later, like Beasts of the Southern Wild and those types of films. Right. But also just the idea of like seeing a young girl on screen and saying, "Oh my gosh, look at her, look at me. This is someone I can look up to."
And they're all original stories, like you mentioned, Beasts of the Southern Wild. Well, original stories. Well told, with a unique voice and in sound and everything. It's just unique. That says a lot about you, the fact that you're watching those kind of films. So what's the first film you made?
The first film I made was in college on 16 millimeter called Play. Is on a Scoopik, which are those old Vietnam War cameras. Like the first time you really got the cameras behind the lines. They were these amazing, lightweight cameras, but they made so much noise, so you can hear the whole camera like rolling in the back. Right. It sounds like this like rolling off the whole time. But I made that in college, and that was amazing. From that film, I realized this was something I really wanted to explore further. I studied abroad at FAMU, which is this Czech film school, which was really this big, like the Czech New Wave, I believe, in the 60s, just like really revolutionary in their structure, and they had some really amazing female voices coming out of there. Daisies, Vera Hidilova's Daisies came out of the school I went to. So it was just a really amazing, surrealist forward, narrative forward, like films. It was amazing. It was
Okay,
great.
so all right, but what made you say, I'm going to Czechoslovakia?
Totally. Inside there's two different types of, not necessarily two different types, but there's different types of filmmaking. You can create in such a vacuum that you're choosing not to challenge your own story. Like, for example, I will always send my script out because I'd rather get my notes now and face the hard truths. And for me, the hard truth was I didn't have a classical lighting and like 35 millimeter education. So I wanted to go to FAMU to learn. And even if I was going to be the kid in the back that didn't know anything, I wanted to do it. It ended up being a really, really amazing experience. The film that I had that come out of there was ended up going online through Tribeca Maker Studios, online distribution. We got recognized by the program.
What film was that?
It's called The Incorporation.
The Incorporation. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. It was like right after Steve Jobs had passed away. So it was based on like what if corporate culture chose to cannibalize those who deceased to take their ideas and to like absorb their power, which is also like a metaphor for like maybe selling a little bit of yourself and like giving away part of yourself to this bigger entity and like your IP to this entity. So
yeah. Oh wow. Those are big ideas.
Yeah.
You're a big thinker from a small state.
Yeah, with the biggest name.
Huh?
With the longest name.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that got some recognition. Your film.
It was great.
It was The Incorporation.
Yes.
Okay. And then so you learned your craft. You felt like you learned your craft at
Yes.
here?
Yes. Yeah. And then at school, we don't really have these bigger, like, we have a lot of resources in a different way. I would say I loved going to Brown, and it was incredibly supportive to what I wanted to do. But I knew to make a strong thesis, it wasn't going to be something with actors in a room. It was going to be a doc that I made on my own. So after I came back, I got a 5D, got some like from the department, persuaded them to get some lenses, and went out and filmed this doc that actually called Steel Shoes that ended up being premiering here the next year.
I saw that at the Vets upstairs.
And I couldn't go because I was filming Knightsville in Rhode Island the same week.
That's when we met on the phone.
And I was so upset because I really
I
wanted.
love Steel Shoes. It was beautiful because you loved horses.
Yeah.
It was very clear that you loved horses.
Thank you.
It was the cinematic imagery, I remember, the intimacy of that. That's why I saw that movie. You did Steel Shoes, and then?
So Steel Shoes, I actually received the Weston Fine Art Award at Brown for it, which gave me a little bit more funding. That was amazing. Finished it over the summer when I graduated, and then from there moved to New York to work on film sets to continue the education of filmmaking.
Right. So you were working on feature films, or
Yes.
Like what?
I started as a camera intern, promoted to a PA on Ira Sachs' Love is Strange.
Okay.
It stars John Lithgow and Alfred Molina, Marissa Tomei. It was an amazing film.
Great
and Ira's
cast.
amazing. And he's such like a magnanimous, supportive director, and it was such a privilege to have him be my first true like
Mentor?
fly on the wall, kind of watching him direct.
Right.
And then that ended up playing at Sundance that year, which was so. It was,
So did you go to Sundance?
no, I didn't.
Oh, okay, okay.
But it was.
You were part
great.
of it. You felt
yeah.
like you were part of it, and you got to see how what the atmosphere was like on a set,
Yeah.
on a healthy set.
On a healthy set with a really confident director who who respected his actors.
I think for a lot of filmmakers, the dream is here in Rhode Island. We have
Right.
got filmmakers now have the ability to make movies here in Rhode Island if it's where you want to live, and get the best of both worlds.
Right.
That you can make professional movies with professional crew members, great actors. You can bring the LA people if you need, or New York folks here, and live a life and maximize your potential. I want to just thank you, Aly, so much for being here. And we introduced the audience to Aly and your work, and We can't wait to see more of what you do.